Technically, my very first mechanical keyboard was a rack Keymat XTLE. That's a pretty run-of-the-mill, mass-market, budget mechanical keyboard marketed towards gamers. I even had clicky switches on it. But my first taste of the enthusiast keyboard experience was with the XM87. This is a budget tray mount TKL with south-facing hot swap sockets. I bought it bare bones for about $38 in November of 2020. The way it does the tray mount is a bit different than most other boards. You've got 4 posts on the bottom case, but they're not for screwing onto the plate. The plate just rests right on top of them. The plate is also bent toward the top and bottom, and these edges also rest against the bottom case. The PCB rests against the bottom case too, along structure lines and this big bump in the middle. Through that big middle bump, you have a hole for the only screw in the entire assembly, which goes through to this post in the top case. The top case attaches around the perimeter of the bottom case through clips. It's a very tight fit and was quite a nightmare to pry open. Overall, the whole thing is very stiff, which you can feel and hear during use. I've actually already experimented with mods quite a bit on this thing, so it's pretty scuffed. I attempted to soften the typing experience with foam pieces along the bottom case, where I thought contact was being made. Unfortunately, any effect was negated by the tightness of the top case clipping on, so I resorted to sanding off the little angled tabs that clip onto the bottom case. This makes the top case very loose, so I tried friction fitting it with electric tape along the insides of both the top and the bottom case pieces. This works, but it's very janky. The tape tends to slide out of place from frequent opening and closing. I also tried filling the empty space in the bottom case with foam, but the structure lines made it really difficult to do so. I attempted to cut the lines out with a flush cutter, but gave up because it was too scuffed. So these are the 2 issues I'll be attempting to address in today's video: the empty space and the stiffness of the entire assembly. I did all of the aforementioned janky mods throughout my early days as an enthusiast. I didn't have that much knowledge or experience with mods and mounting styles back then, so hopefully I can do a better job now. Usually with tray mounts, I would do the O-ring mod for the screws, but that's not viable here as the tray mount posts don't use screws. I then thought of using some of the leftover D65 gaskets I have from when I used them on my GMMK Pro. I just cut small squares that would fit over the 4 posts on the bottom case. I'm not sure how much of a difference the addition of the gaskets made. You can see that the hole of the top case is higher, but the typing experience hasn't really been softened. Not that I expected that. I was hoping for a sound difference, but I don't really hear much. Let me know if you heard a difference in the comments. To address the hollowness, I did the DIY silicone dampener that many other keyboard YouTubers have done. I was kind of nervous about doing it since I'd never done anything like it before. I attempted what DJ Gelo did in his silicone pour video, which is pouring water into the case to determine the volume of liquid needed to fill it. Unfortunately, it didn't go very well. I ended up spilling quite a bit of the water, and so my measurement wasn't accurate. I ended up with around 200 ml of water after all the spillage. I decided to just go ahead with the silicone because I didn't want to deal with any more water. I poured the first component out to see how much 100 ml of the stuff would weigh, and it was something like 40 grams, which was kind of alarming since in Andy Nguyen's silicone pour video, he used 53 grams of each component, and that was with a smaller board, a 65%. I decided to add a bit more and ended up with 45 grams of each component for a total of 90 grams. It did end up being enough. I didn't want to go too high to avoid having any of the PCB components hitting the silicone. I cut out some of the material to make room for the daughter board, the cable to the main PCB, the connector on the main PCB, and for a couple of big capacitors. I also did a couple more mods along with the silicone. First, I swapped out the spacebar stabilizers for the ones from my Gamakay LK67 because they were rattling. And second, I added 2 sheets of 2mm EVA plate foam that I had already previously cut. Again, the difference here is not as dramatic as I was hoping for. The hollowness has definitely been reduced, but overall, the keyboard still sounds rather unpleasant. I'm thinking it's probably due to the plate, which seems to be steel, but I'm not sure of that. Again, let me know what you heard. Next, I added 2 layers of painter's tape to the bottom of the PCB for the Tempest tape mod. There are quite a lot of holes in components to account for. At first, I tried to cut the tape before fully pressing it on, but I ended up just using an X-Acto knife to cut the holes out after I had laid the tape on. I did already previously try the tape mod on this board, but it did not sound this good. The tape and the silicone seem to be working harmoniously here to bring what I can only describe as the thok. In my GMMK Pro Mods 2 video, I said I preferred PE foam with no tape, but lately I've been preferring the opposite. I tried PE foam here and in my previous video with the LK67, but I liked both better with just tape. Overall, I'm very happy with how this turned out. Once I'd experienced better sounding boards like the KBD67 Lite, GMMK Pro, and EK68 Aurora, I rarely ever came back to the XM87, which is a shame because I quite like the TKL layout. But with these mods, I'll definitely be putting the XM87 back into my rotation. And that's a wrap on upgrading my first enthusiast keyboard. What did you think? Was it a big improvement? How would you have gone about modding this board? Let me know in the comments. We'll end with some sound tests in a few different configurations. If you'd like to help the channel survive, please stay until the end. And if you found this video helpful, informative, entertaining, or any other positive adjective, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching.